Back in generation.
Shine.
Shown shine.
We on the Nintendo DS now.
Super powerful. Starting with the most recent generation, as it now, you say, as Gen 8 is right around the corner. Oh, finally! The modern day! Or maybe by the time you find this video, we're actually on Gen 10, which is fun to say. What's it like that far in the future, though? Have I died in my sleep yet? Well, no matter. Today, we're looking at every Generation 8 Pokemon currently in existence, and explaining why their shiny color is what it is. Starting in Generation 6, for sure, shiny Pokemon have been handcrafted. Almost all of them have a pretty decent reason for being the new colors that they are, and Generation 8 is no exception. So let's get into that. 2020 is nearly over now, and like the Pokemon we're talking about today, next year may finally be a year for you to truly shine. What are you going to improve next year? Your fitness? Your grammar? Well, if you're anything like me, grammar improvement is a thing that is good for doing. And today's sponsor has already helped me a ton with that. It's Grammarly, and gosh, I wish this existed while I was in school. Grammarly is more than just a simple spelling and grammar checker. It's a digital writing assistant for your browser and mobile devices, and it's far smarter than any default checker. You can, of course, simply add it to your browser as a browser extension for free. However, when you upgrade to Grammarly Premium, you get access to many more features. Grammarly Premium's Clarity AI rewrites entire sentences for more effective and concise communication. Grammarly Premium can even tell you what kind of tone you're using to suggest changes based on that. Communication is essential, not just for business emails and essays, but for job applications, scripts, texts, novels, and social media posts. All writing can benefit from removing unnecessary words and replacing boring, dull standard words with more concise and effective ones. It gets a real sense of feeling across, and that's why vocabulary suggestions are so helpful. And this is why Grammarly has 30 million daily users, and you can join them by using my link, grammarly.com/Loxton, to sign up for a free account and get 20% off of Grammarly Premium. I bet this guy uses Grammarly. It's big brain. Boop. The Grookey line follows the tradition of most grass-type starters, and most grass types, really. It has their browns brighten and saturate up, and their greens add a bit of yellow, giving them their sort of autumn colors. It's cute. Raboot and Cinderace's whites and blacks swap places with each other and also lighten up, making them more smoky in appearance. Or possibly just referencing gray rabbits. And then the reds turning yellow on Cinderace and Scorbunny are simply another shade of fire now. Now, as if Inteleon wasn't flamboyant enough, now it's got pink eyeshadow and white pants. How many guys do you know that are able to pull off white pants? And the whole line sort of lightens and swaps its yellows for pink. Huh. Well, they're based on basilisks, also known as Jesus lizards, as they run around on top of the water. Some of them are bluish-green, but never pink, really. The pink then may pull from the pink agama lizard, which also contains blue. Agamas are notable here, as some of them are one of the 3 species of lizards who can absorb nutrients through rainwater into their skin. So there's that. Squavette and Greedent are pink now. Pink is a common color for shinies on fluffy, cute Pokemon, and this also makes them both reference the red squirrel, the squirrel species that happens to be native to the United Kingdom. The Corviknight line. It's a white knight. You ever hear that term? Also, while rare, of course, there are ravens with albinism, as well as other conditions which render their feathers a much lighter shade of gray, or white even. And then, on top of jays, ravens, and crows, chickadees are also a corvid, and now Rookidee references the black-capped chickadee. Blipbug's line is just a lot more purple now. Some species of ladybug larvae and pupa can be quite purple after all, and Orbeetle, being as blue and purple as it is now, could be a reference to purple being a somewhat common color for villains, as Orbeetle is a big brain supervillain. But also, there's the blue steel ladybird. Could be that. And then we have these silver foxes. A silver fox, on top of being an actual fox, is also a term used to describe very suave and handsome middle-aged men. With, like, a bit of silver hair, or a lot of it, like George Clooney. Shining example right there. But it can also relate to a demeanor. The evil itself is very suave and sly and mustached and masked, which, along with the silvery fox descriptor, reminds me of Zorro. Or Guy Fawkes, the pop culture icon, specifically. They fit well enough. Eldegoss and Gossifleur are a mix of Gossypium and Anemone plants, both of which have flowers in quite a few different colors, all of these included. Wooloo and Double invert their blacks and whites, looking more like a black sheep now, and Dreadnaw and Choodle turn into a much more iconic turtle green. And like many made-to-be-cute and fluffy Pokemon, shiny Yamper is pink, and Boltund is a pink purplish now, too. The closest non-dyed dogs to get to being pink is some breeds of hairless dog, which don't really relate to Boltund. But the Coalossal line all reference anthracite coal, also known as blue coal. It's a much rarer coal, but it burns much more efficiently. The Applin line is super easy. Green apples. Sandaconda tweaks from a greenish tan to a greenish gray. Notably, the most famous anacondas are green anacondas, which can get pretty green, but most anacondas are tan or gray. Now then, it's time for everyone's favorite bird! Cormorants! There are bluish ones, like Cramorant, but the closest we can get to its shiny orange color is with the beak of the double-crested cormorant, whose feathers are more so brown, but still, the beak's orange. Shiny Barracuda's line is actually a lot more accurate to real Barracuda colors now, being bluish and silvery. Toxtricity and Toxel pull from a few different lizards, newts, and salamanders, many of which come in pink, such as the red-spotted salamander, the axolotl, and more. And plus, bright pink, like this, is a color often associated with the whole punk aesthetic, be it hair, makeup, outfits, or whatever. It's because it's a very loud color, provocative even. The backs of the Centiscorch line seem to cool off a bit. Now, they pull from both centipedes and millipedes, such as the red fire millipede, but now their shinies more closely resemble the more common giant red-headed centipede, with their reflective, cool gray backs. Super cool looking, actually. Clobbopus is super cute, and mini octopus can just change color whenever. Chameleons of the sea, they are, and thus this light cyan and white color is possible for them as well. And then Clobbopus, on top of now being reminiscent of the Atlantic white-spotted octopus, is also now wearing a much more common color combo for luchadors. Red and yellow, or red and white, however you want to, or just all three. Because it's a fighting octopus. The light pink color, like what's on shiny Sinistea and Polteageist, is incredibly common for fancy little tea time sets. It's an easy color to dye porcelain, and this light pink is especially more common if you consider the plastic little tea party sets for little girls. And speaking of little girls, the Hatterene line. All their cyan bits turn light pink and white, making this all-female species all the more traditionally feminine. And meanwhile, Impidimps line, which are all males, have their pinks turn cyan when shiny, a more traditional boys color. Though the boys do grow out of it as they evolve, as the greens in the line start swapping for purple, and more interestingly, their dark purplish gray hair turns white. The color hair gets when people age. Strangely, their tongue changes to white too. I suppose you can't really expect imps, goblins, and trolls to have the best oral hygiene. There are all sorts of health issues that can cause a white tongue, and none of them are pretty. Really, I'm sure this was done more so to make their shinies much more drastically different. I mean, originally their tongue is dark purpley gray just like their hair, which is also possible, and also comes from really unappealing health problems. Take care of your mouth, please. But maybe don't do what Obstagoon does. That is a bright blue tongue. Not unheard of. Skinks have those. But people can get them too, by consuming too much stuff with blue dye in it. Obviously. Bringing in its prevos, they all go from this black and white Kiss heavy metal look to this bright cyan and magenta punk look. Remember what I said about Toxtricity? It's the case here too. Galarian Meowth and Perrserker especially just have a more colored beard. Younger Vikings with bright blonde fur, like blonde Vikings with big red beards. Galarian Corsola and Cursola darken quite a bit. Black coral is on the rarer side, but it does exist. I guess that makes this the perfect shiny color then, especially since it's seen as a spooky color too. Ooh, it's dark! Ah. Galarian Farfetch'd just kinda brightens up a little, like it stepped into the light a bit, but Sirfetch'd now has completely golden down, like ducklings and the iconic rubber ducks. Galarian Mr. Mime and Mr. Rime get their colors washed out and faded a bit, perhaps to further link them to Charlie Chaplin, the major inspiration of this line, because all of his films were in black and white. Now, I absolutely love shiny Galarian Yamask and Runerigus. The black ghost bit's cool, the stone lightens up, and the eyes become this amazing green color, and the lines making up the runestone are neon pink now! Where have I seen that color combo before? No matter. The Viking runestones that used paint in the lines were typically painted red, like regular Runerigus. Pinks and purples were a very difficult color to make, but the white stone is neat. Norwegian archaeologists have found a few sacred white stones turned into runestones and religious sculptures. Bright white stones were considered sacred to them, just like shiny Pokemon to some people. The other colors then are likely just to add contrast. The green eye works especially well, as lime green is a common color for spooky and or evil things. Every villain is lime, unless it's purple. Galarian Ponyta and Rapidash swap their fluffy fairy cotton candy pink yellow fur for yellow cotton candy pink fur. While pink is more often associated with ultra girly unicorns, the unicorn on the Scottish coat of arms features a yellow mane, just like this shiny. The Galarian Slowpoke line all turn yellow. Now, Slowpoke is pretty interesting. Part hippo, part giant salamander. The later, at least, can come in bright yellow. Galarian Weezing goes sepia tone, the color of all those old-timey photos and sketches from the Industrial Revolution time period, which it clearly references. Galarian Darumaka and Darmanitan swap their Yeti blue skin for a greenish yellow and a yellowish green, while their ice crystals darken. That part's easy, just denser ice. But the skin... well, the line is primarily based on Daruma dolls, which are most commonly red, but do come in a variety of colors, each symbolizing something different. In the case of yellow, it means security and protection, and there are also green Daruma dolls, symbolizing beauty, though green isn't a traditional color of them by any means. So I guess that would make them kind of rare, like shinies. Galarian Stunfisk, being a bear trap sort of covered in leaves, now uses autumn leaves. It has its autumn colors. And if you're more inclined to believe that they aren't leaves, but footprints that are green for some reason, well, now they are footprints filled with pee. Milcery is kinda creepy now. It's just white. No more yellow tinge to its cream. Milk, heavy cream, and butter varies in color depending on what the cow that produced it was fed. Typically, the yellower the milk and cream, the healthier the cow is. To a point, of course. A lack of fat in the milk and a lack of carotene in the cow's diet causes their milk to become less yellow. This is common in factory-farmed milk, since they feed and treat their cows like literal... When yellower, it tends to be a bit better for us compared to the whiter stuff too. It tends to mean there are more vitamins in it, and more importantly, since these vitamins are fat-soluble, the vitamins in yellower milk is more bioavailable to us, meaning we can actually use them instead of just passing them through, like with fat-free milk. So basically, shiny Milcery is from a factory farm, or is just fat-free cream now. Lovely. Now, Alchemy has a million different colors already, so how do you make them shiny? Well, you make the white cream gray. I guess they added activated charcoal to it. Adding activated charcoal to your diet was a fad a few years ago, or I guess it could just be food coloring. It's common for whipped cream and buttercream frosting to add food coloring to be a certain color, but I like the activated charcoal idea better. Because it's dumb. Ooh! Oh! Ooh! Phalanx have little wooden shields now! At least that's what the colors make me think of. So, this one was a little tricky. Normally they are golden red, and their whole thing is that they are making a phalanx, a Greek military formation, eventually turned Spartan and Roman. And the Roman Empire, of course, played a big part in British history, hence every Gen 8 Pokemon being British thing. But the yellow frills and brown shields? It's not as iconic as the gold and red, but that's not to say they didn't exist in this combo. But, diving into some research, I did learn quite a few things. To keep it summarized, the Gauls learned to use the phalanx formation themselves after doing battle against the Greeks multiple times, typically with round wooden shields. It wasn't exactly the same, but contextually speaking, our modern-day definition of phalanx is this specific formation used by the Greeks and Romans, whereas historically, back then, It just meant any tightly packed formation of shields and spears. So it's perfect. Pinkerton. The insides of sea urchins can be yellow, and sometimes they can be orange. So there you go. Snom and Frostmoth get a cool minty green hue added to them. It makes me think of spearmint. But also, the pale green moth. Clever name. Stonejourner just swaps its two grays around. So now instead of looking like me, it looks like me with a tan. Ice-Cube! Forgot it existed already. Well, it's pink now. Cyan to magenta. Been seeing a lot of that. Pink ice is a thing, common on the Alps, caused by an algae bloom. Also, penguins have pink feet, and penguin poop is pink due to their diet. Here's a bunch of penguins covered with penguin poop in their pink feet. Indeedy, the maid and butler get all blue and purple. Purple is notable as it is the color of nobility and royalty. Clearly, people who would have maids and butlers. Morpeko is now a white guinea pig, and its hangry mode is just a slightly different hue. Likely lighter to reflect its normally yellow body being whitened to white. So it's now lighter too. Koofint and Copperaja seem to be using a copper alloy rather than just straight copper now, as their coppery orange is now much more yellow, perhaps like brass, a common alloy made out of copper and zinc, and a common material for the idols of the gods, especially in India, and the rest of them turn more green. The color copper and brass happen to rust into. All four of the mismatched fossil Pokemon are simply much more desaturated when shiny, likely for the same reason as Mr. Rime. The time period that dinosaur fossils were getting all iconically mixed up was also when photography was very new, so only black and white. Duraludon is made of duralumin, which tends to be a silver color, like most plain metal. When shiny, it dulls a little, which is ironic for a shiny. But also, its interior parts turn much more blue, which happens to be the most common color for duralumin to turn into, if it's going to be colored at all. Only thing I'm not sure on is why its flint button thing goes from red to white. But there are a few ideas. Firstly, as a rival to Tyranitar, it is inspired somewhat by Mechagodzilla, who is all silver besides these red bits on its head. Later, when upgraded to Millennium Mechagodzilla, it no longer has these red bits. They are light silver now, like the rest of him. Shiny Duraludon versus regular Duraludon? It could be referencing that by making that bit white, because it's a lot closer to just the rest of it. But Duraludon is also inspired by the Shard, a skyscraper in London. It's much more obvious when it's Gigantamaxed, though. Like, come on. And all the buildings in London are topped with red lights to stop planes from crashing into them. The Shard has these too, but they are overpowered by its warm white light, which could inspire this potentially as well. The Dragapult line! First two swap their green heads into blue heads with yellow accents now, easily references to the world-famous Blue Angels who put on jet shows. And while Dragapult's main head color stays the same, its magenta accents follow suit in turning yellow. Zacian is actually cyan now, following its namesake, and Zamazenta does the same with magenta. And Eternatus seems much more powerful when shiny. Dynamax energy in-game is this pinkish red color after all, and now shiny Eternatus is entirely that color. It's dramatic. Now, for the later DLC mon, Galarian Slowking is even pinker now. It's to reflect the same change in regular Slowking, but then its purple upper body is now blue. More oxygen deprivation, perhaps? Is the Shelder even more parasitic now? Or is it just to reflect the similar change in the original Slowking as well? Why shiny Cubfu and Urshifu swap their yellow skin for pink skin? Maybe they got slapped? Well, in various martial arts, you wear a colored belt to show your rank, and yellow tends to be pretty low on that ranking system, with red being generally a lot higher. In judo and most forms of karate, grandmasters may wear a dark red belt. Meanwhile, the yellow belt is just one step above beginner. In Taekwondo, red is just before the highest rank, and in Jiu-Jitsu, red is the highest rank. So basically, as logic follows, shiny Urshifu is better than regular Urshifu, because it's shiny. The Galarian legendary birds are all easy. Their shinies just resemble their original Cantonian colors. Regieleki's blue coils turn white, or maybe like a very light metallic gray, thus resembling Tesla coils? These parts could also resemble electrical transformer bushing, though that's most commonly either black or gray. However, recent advances in power infrastructure technology have them painted blue and white, especially the ones in labs where they've broken power transfer speed records. Regieleki is also the new fastest Pokemon there is, so there's that. But then, Regidrago's outer dragon head shell turns into this cool dark color. It could be a reference to the Azure Dragon, one of the big Chinese dragon gods. It's blue, and carries around a big red pearl, often in its mouth, sort of resembling Regidrago. Shiny Calyrex is... beige? I guess kinda golden. There are hares and deer of this color, but also being golden makes it sort of akin to a chalice, like a holy grail. Gold is also a very rich and kingly color, as it's what crowns and scepters were made of. Glastrier is just a slightly different shade of ice, like ice during a sunrise. I guess it being slightly purpler makes it more like a royal horse. And then Spectrier goes from purple to pink and maroon. It already resembled girly horse dolls with brushed hair enough already, and now it's pink? I'm not sure if there's more to this or not. Scotland is really into their kelpies, mythical ghost horses that they have these art pieces of. Sometimes they're pink. And also, here's an Irish ghost horse painting that's kinda pink. And lastly, Shiny Zarude is just sepia tone. During the time period of British expedition and exploration into the jungle for the purpose of discovering new species of flora and fauna, sepia tone was all the rage. Because it was the best technology they had. Now, overall, I really like a lot of these reasonings, but I don't think they topped the shiny design that Generation 7 had. I still think they did a lot better work there, but Gen 8, it's an easy second place. I hope they continue putting a good amount of thought into not only the shiny Pokemon themselves, but the colors that they give them, because colors have meaning and all that. But, yeah, that's it for this series for now. See you in a year or two when we get around to doing Gen 9. And until next time, never stop using your noggin.